Well, hockey's back in full swing. 12 games today. I believe it's 4 tomorrow, and then 13 the day after, and then 3 the next day, because Sunday is Super Bowl Sunday. I also want to throw in a little bit of a plug for my other channel. Yvonne and I did a movie review last night for Living in Oblivion, which is a great movie from 1995. Yeah, yeah, no, we review really obscure movies. Strange and obscure and weird. That's fun. And sometimes horror movies. All right, that being said, let us go ahead and dive into tonight's action. Um, well, you have Anaheim 6-3-1 in their last 10. Ottawa 3-7-0 in their last 10. A 25-17-9 record for Anaheim. A 15-24-9 record for Ottawa. These are both teams that know how to lose in overtime. Miller and Condon are the starters. That's an advantage towards Miller. Ryan Miller's been playing very well. So with Gibson getting hurt, I would be more concerned as an Anaheim fan, other than the fact that, hey, it's Ryan Miller's a good goaltender. And the Ducks have been playing really solid hockey. And of course, Ottawa comes into this having lost 6 in a row, all in regulation. And every time that you say, well, Ottawa can't get worse, just like they go, really? Hold my beer. And then they go out on the ice and they go, and you're welcome. And it's like, that's not what we don't want to see you get worse. Why do you keep getting worse? And then you got an owner going, well, we probably won't make the playoffs. Probably playoffs. I just want to win the damn game. Playoffs. Talking playoffs. And after tonight, it'll be the Ducks are who we thought they were. They came in there and beat us. They're who we thought they were. It's too bad. So the Ducks need to jump on an Ottawa team that's got to be feeling extremely deflated, and just not feeling up to speed with anything right now. I there are bright spots with Ottawa, but the problem is Hoffman's apparently getting moved. Everybody keeps talking about Hoffman getting traded, and all I can think is, why are you trading the good one? Why are you trading Mike Hoffman? Pajot? Why would you trade him? He's a good character guy. Stone's an RFA. We don't know what kind of money Stone's going to want. We don't know. Frankly, we don't know if Eugene Melnyk is going to want to keep him. We don't know if Melnick's going to look at Stone at the end of the year and say, well, yeah, but he's not a superstar. We'll just let him go and we'll bring in Tavares. And it's crazy enough that I could see ownership saying, yeah, we'll just dump all this money and save money so we can throw a truckload at Tavares. And then when Tavares signs somewhere else, say, well, we tried. Because I don't have a lot of faith right now in Ottawa's management. And now they got a healthy Anaheim team coming in, and to me that's a bad mix. Speaking of bad mixes, Florida's in Buffalo tonight. Florida 3-6-1 in their last 10. Buffalo 4-6-0 in their last 10. Satteri's starting for Florida. So Reimer, Luongo, nope. Satteri's the guy. Chad Johnson starting for Buffalo. This could be really high scoring. It could be one of those games that, no, you take the victory. No, you take it. Florida 20, 22, and 6 overall. Buffalo the ugly 14, 27, and 9. 14 wins. If I was a betting man, I'd say, well, Buffalo won those 3 on the road. They've got to turn things around at home, too. They should be able to win this one. It's Florida coming in. Florida's road record isn't fantastic. But this is almost impossible to call. Because Buffalo came home and laid an egg when they got there. And Florida has been an up-and-down team over the last couple of weeks. And they're coming off of a win against the Islanders. So maybe they can go in and win over Buffalo because they just beat the Islanders, and Buffalo is not as good a team as the Islanders. I don't think I'm going to offend anybody by saying that, because it's true. And for Florida and Buffalo, this is basically they're playing for their jobs next year. I think that's why we've seen some players in Buffalo, particularly Eichel seems to be picking it up. But it's just not enough. There just aren't enough players who are playing at that level, or in some cases, I think there's players who aren't capable of it. Brian Gianta's signed an AHL contract now. He's getting himself into shape for the Olympics, and all I can think is, with what Buffalo's gone through this year, would it really have been that bad to bring back Giunta for one more year? I mean, they didn't make the playoffs last year with him. You can make the argument that he's old and he's slow, fine, but I look at Giunta and I see a guy who is capable of leading at times, and he's been a captain before, and there's not a lot of leadership with Buffalo. If they're waiting for Eichel to do it, I really, not every player is Connor McDavid or Austin Matthews. Not every player comes into the league with both the talent and the maturity. And I think the expectation now is that because Matthews, McDavid, and some of these guys have come in with both, now the expectation is that they're all going to. And I don't see that. I also think because these guys get massive contracts 3 years into their careers, that somehow that's meant to translate as leadership. That means they're captain material, when that it means they score points and goals. Points and goals don't make you a captain. It doesn't give you leadership skill. So hopefully Buffalo gets it all figured out before they throw a C onto Jack Eichel, and I think they need more character guys there. But that's me. I mean, it doesn't get them to the playoffs if they kept Giunta. I'm just kind of somewhat surprised by that. All right, next up, St. Louis is in Buffalo, or Boston. The Bruins lost in regulation their last game, which was at home against Anaheim, 3-1. Am I grateful? Kind of, because you go on too long of a winning streak, or in this case, an unbeaten in regulation streak. It can go to your head. It can mean that there's certain parts of your game that are struggling, and maybe you're not paying attention to it. There are injury issues with Boston. It does make them less effective. Now, St. Louis is coming in. The Blues are healthy, and the Blues are a very good team. Allen and Rask are confirmed as the starters in that one. The Blues, 31-18-3. Boston, 29-11-8. Boston, 7-1-2 in their last 10. And I didn't write down St. Louis's record in their last 10, but I think they're about 500. St. Louis is playing better. And this game tonight in Boston is another chance for them to advance their cause. When you're a really good home team, as St. Louis, Winnipeg, Nashville all are, it's those road games that can make the difference as to whether or not they finish first, second, or third. You can't be worried about who's played more games. You can't be worried about where you're playing. Just go out and win your game, and don't worry about anything else. For Boston, it's kind of a, I don't want to say big game, because again, when you're in the Atlantic and you're top three, you've basically got your playoff spot sewn up. So Boston's in the playoffs. It's just a matter of where. But still, you don't want to go into a skid and have the Maple Leafs catch you. So as much as Boston may be looking up at Tampa, they should also be looking behind them at a Toronto Maple Leafs team that's got a lot better over the last week and a half, and say, all right, we've got to stay ahead. We got to keep pace because they're getting better. And for St. Louis, they always have to be wary of the fact that Winnipeg and Nashville have shown no signs of falling back. And now Nashville has Mike Fisher coming back to get back in the lineup. I would expect, somebody asked in the comments, how long is it going to take for him to get back into game shape? If he's been skating, if he's been on the ice skating, and if he's stayed with it, I would say probably a week and a half, 2 weeks, they'll have him in the lineup. I know with Jágr it took longer, but Jágr played a lot longer, and Jágr had nagging injuries when he was signed by the Flames. So I'm not looking at that and saying, well, it's going to be the same thing. And yeah, so St. Louis needs to keep winning, because Nashville's going to get better with Fisher back, and when Winnipeg's got Scheifele and they've got all their guns in the lineup at once, Winnipeg's going to become a whole other deal entirely. So yeah, St. Louis has got to keep it up, and Allen's got to turn it around, because Jake Allen right now is in a position where he could lose his starting job to Carter Hutton going into the playoffs. Could happen. You can't afford to miss the playoffs. So if your backup's playing better than your starter, your backup becomes your starter. That's just the rule. That's how things work. Okay, next up. Dallas goes into Arizona, and this makes me nervous. Why? Arizona's 12-29-9. They've won 12. They've lost 38. They've won 12 out of 50. Dallas, 28 wins, 19 losses, and 4 overtime losses. But Dallas, they're not as good on the road as they're at home. They're very good at home. Letnin's in net. It looks like it's probably Ranta for Arizona. Arizona's 3-3-4 in their last 10. Dallas is 6-3-1. So Arizona's either only won 3 of their last 10 or they've only lost 3 in regulation in their last 10. So it depends on whether you're half full or half empty kind of guy. I prefer to think half full because Arizona is getting better. They've slowly been getting better. It doesn't show in the results, but they've been playing better. And for Dallas, this is, and I call it this is that trap game. They have to come out early, get a lead, establish themselves as the better team, and then just keep that up. Just keep moving forward and making sure that at no point in this game does Arizona feel like they have a chance. Because if Arizona thinks, hey, we got a shot at this, they can pull it off. Or at the very least, push it to overtime. Get it over with in regulation if you're Dallas. Make sure you got your guns going. It'll be interesting to see if Radulov continues his hot streak coming out of the break that he had going into it. And I'll be interested to see if Lettinen has a good game against Arizona. Arizona's capable of putting a lot of shots on the net. They're not always great shots, but direct it to the net. That's what your coach will tell you. That's what all the analysts say. Just direct shots to the net. We'll get to a team that does a lot of that and doesn't necessarily get the result in a second. But for Dallas, they've got every part of their game is good. Their offense, their defense, their goaltending. Their defense has definitely improved over the last couple of months over where it was early on. I still get nervous, but my nerves at this point are not really warranted. So, good luck to them in Arizona, and don't fall for the Coyotes trap. Don't fall for that 12 wins in 50 games trap. They're bad. They're not that bad. The effort is there. Next up, Montreal in Carolina. So last week, Carolina wins this game in Montreal 6-5. Montreal's 20-24-6. Carolina's 23-19-8. It's Price and Ward tonight. Cam Ward 4-6-0 in his last 10. Price 4-4 or no. Ward's team is 4-6-0. Price's team is 4-4-2 in their last 10. So they're both struggling. This is a game Carolina needs to win. They need to remember exactly what they did to beat Price last game and do that again, and maintain momentum, because again in the Metro, these guys are bringing up the rear, even though they haven't played that badly over the last couple of weeks. The results though just don't bear it out. Ward's in net again because Darling, while they may publicly state that they have faith in Darling, Ward keeps starting. So they're saying all the right things about Darling when the media asks, but I look at who starts the games, and it's usually Cam Ward, and that tells me all I need to know. The pressure is on to make the playoffs. Carolina can't afford to just come close. I want to say, too, talking about Carolina, I've discussed them having empty seats the whole season and how it looks. The owner agrees with me. They now upgrade you. If you're in the upper echelon of the building, way up there, nosebleeds, they'll upgrade you to lower bowl. So they're upgrading fans to the lower bowl, and that will give both the aesthetic on TV, that the building's more full than what it is, and it'll make fans buy more tickets and show up. It really will. This is a fantastic idea. First thing he did was bring in cheap tickets. Now he's bumping people up to the next level to fill in for seats at the next level that are just sitting there anyways. Great PR. This is part of the thing. Like, we've talked a lot about the Hurricanes, and I always hear, oh, they're going to get moved, they're going to get moved, they're going to get moved. They've been managed very, very badly. And we'll see with decent ownership how things work out in Carolina. And tonight they get a shot at a Montreal team that has trouble scoring if you're not Max Pacioretty, and has really missed Shea Weber on the blue line. So once Shea Weber gets back, we'll see if Montreal's fortunes improve. I understand they weren't that great when Weber got hurt, but it's been worse with Weber out, because Weber's a horse on the blue line. And the problem with Weber now is that because we just tie him to PK Subban and we don't really grade Shea Weber on his own, it makes him look weaker by comparison than he should. He is still a very capable defenseman. He is still a top 2 defenseman in the NHL. The problem really is that if Montreal decided they want to move on, that contract is tough to move. Montreal might have taken it from Nashville, but I'm not sure that even Philly, the team that started this contract, the team that signed this contract initially to get him out of Nashville, I don't think they'd touch it. not with a 10-foot pole. So it'll be interesting to see what Montreal does at the deadline, and Carolina as well. Is Carolina going to be buyers at the deadline? Are they going to sell? Probably not. So maybe it'll be a quiet deadline for Carolina. We'll find out. Next up, let us discuss Philly and the Devils. These are two teams that seem to be going in opposite directions. Philly 7-3-0 in their last 10. They're 24-18-8 overall. New Jersey 3-6-1 in their last 10. 25-6-16-8 overall. Lyon may get his first NHL start tonight. They haven't confirmed it yet. Probably. Kincaid is starting for the Devils with Schneider out. So this is interesting to me because New Jersey wins their last game. Get a shutout. Or no, they didn't get a shutout. They fell out 1 goal. Philly lost their last game last night to Washington. This is one of those ones. Jersey's got to pounce on a team that's coming in on a back-to-back. A rookie goaltender, an unproven goaltender in net. They have to jump on this. This is one of those games where I would probably just straight out say, oh yeah, no, New Jersey's winning this. But because New Jersey's young and inexperienced, I can't just come out and make that call because it's just ignorant and stupid to say it. Philly is coming in off of a loss back-to-back, but Philly has been playing very solid hockey, and usually one bad game will lead to a good game. Jersey, due to the amount of youth on this roster, there is an unpredictability factor in pretty much every part of the game. Even Kincaid. Kincaid has experience, but still by the levels of goaltenders in the NHL, he's not a really experienced goaltender at the NHL level yet. He's getting there. But I still look at Kincaid and go, well, sophomore kind of experience level. And we'll see if he comes up with a big game tonight against the Flyers. Because that'll be very telling if he does. As to whether or not New Jersey might need to shore things up in net or what he like. Because Kincaid's been very inconsistent so far this year. If he comes out and say shuts out Philly, then some of that goes away for at least the next week. Won't hear a whole lot about it. By saying not a whole lot about it, I mean you'll still hear about it. And for Philly, a lot of this revolves around Giroux and Couturier. If they both show up and they both get on the scoreboard, Philly absolutely wins. Last night's game, I thought Couturier played relatively well. They lose the game though. They had the 2-0 lead and then it fell. They do need a better effort tonight. They need to really hold a lead. They need to show that they're able to do that. All right, next up, Toronto and the Rangers. Toronto comes in 29-18-5 after the 5-0 shutout last night over the hapless Islanders, and the Rangers 25-20-5. Lundqvist probably starting. McElhinney is likely because Anderson started last night for Toronto. Rangers 4-6 in their last 10. Toronto 5-2-3 in their last 10. Toronto's back. Let's not quibble about it. The Toronto Maple Leafs that started the season are the Toronto Maple Leafs that we're watching right now. That game last night, there wasn't a moment in that game where I thought, okay, the Islanders are going to get back into this. The Toronto Maple Leafs came out right from the opening face-off. They're like, okay, we're shutting this down. It is a Toronto team that sits 3 points back of Boston. Boston's got games in hand. But, again, as I mentioned before, Boston has to keep winning. They can't afford to let Toronto get back into this race. I'm wondering if at some point we're going to see a 3-horse race in the Atlantic between Tampa, Toronto, and Boston. Because, Tampa's had some injury issues. I know that Hedman's back. He came back early. But when a guy comes back early, I go, okay, is he 100% effective? Is he 80% effective? Is it 75%? Like, what level is he actually at? Toronto needs to just keep winning. And tonight they've got a team in New York with the Rangers that apparently are interested in selling. Now, I know players don't pay a lot of attention to the media, but they have to pay some. So for guys like Nash and Grabner and these guys, it has to be somewhat disheartening that the team's playing relatively well. Their record isn't bad. They're 25-20-5, which means even if I say, okay, overtime losses are losses, they're 500. And all the news is, well, we're going to sell these guys off and we're probably going to sell at the deadline. And while Rangers fans are excited about that, it does make me wonder how that's going to affect the results from here on. How's that going to affect the New York Rangers mentality? Are they going to say, no, screw it, we're going to keep winning games, we're going to prove these guys wrong? Or is there going to be some kind of a, an upset feeling that hits this team? I don't know how else to put it, but sometimes you'll see a team that has a malaise that they know that the season's kind of done. And you'll watch a team that's playing well 40 or 50 games into the season, and then the bottom just drops out. They'll go through a 10-game losing streak or a 15-game streak where they have 2 or 3 wins, and it just falls right out. So are the Rangers going to fight through it and try to prove Jeff Gorton wrong? Or are they looking around the dressing room and saying who's going to stay, who's going to go? And due to being distracted by that, does Toronto come in and smack them? Toronto may come in and smack them anyways. They're playing very solid hockey right now. That's why when it was 2-0 Toronto, I could turn the game off and go over to another game because it was like, all right, Toronto's got it tonight. And it's weird because 2 years ago you would not have said that. There's no way you would have said, oh, Toronto's got this one. 2-0 lead doesn't mean anything 2 years ago. So what a difference a couple years and some young kids makes. And a really strong goaltender, Freddie Anderson. And tonight they got probably McElhinney, and McElhinney's played very well for them when he's been in the lineup. So no loss of talent there at all. All right. Next up, Tampa, Calgary. Tampa 34-13-3. Calgary 25-17-8. Vasilevsky's the likely starter. Smith's the likely starter. Tampa's 5-5-0 in their last 10. The Flames are 5-1-4. Those 4 overtime losses have to hurt. Losing those 4 points they could have had. Yes, they got 4 points they could have lost, but again, it's tough coming into tonight now because now the Flames have to beat Tampa. And Tampa's become Tampa again. They're coming off of a loss against Winnipeg, 3-1 on Tuesday, that they're going to be pretty anxious to avenge. And they're going to take it out on the Flames, which is bad news for Flames fans. I want to see a good game from the Flames tonight. It would be fun to see as many Canadian teams in the playoffs as possible, and the Flames are going to have to play very, very well to get there because Anaheim's getting better. The Kings are showing signs of turning things around. So Calgary can't take their foot off the pedal yet. And for Tampa, at 71 points, they're 6 ahead. They're 6 ahead of 5 ahead of Boston, I think, and 8 ahead of Toronto. I think I'm just doing this in my head here. Okay, so 71 points, 66. So they're 5 ahead of Toronto, and 58 plus 5, 63. So yeah, they're 8 ahead of Toronto. That sounds insurmountable, right? It's not though. I wondering if we're going to see a 4-horse race or 3-horse race in the Atlantic, which means all the other teams in the Atlantic are done. And that's rough too because now you've got 5 teams selling that are all in the same division. So they're probably not going to be able to sell to each other, and are they going to sell to the contending teams in their division? Probably not. I see a lot of proposals of, do you think this guy can go to this team for this? And as soon as I see 2 teams that are division rivals, my immediate answer is no. A major player doesn't normally go to a division rival because you don't want to see your division rival do well in the playoffs and have your fan base say, wait a minute, what did you get back? And also, if you're willing to trade a key player to a division rival, you will ask for more back than you're going to ask for from a non-division rival. The example I would give is this. Corey Schneider gets moved to New Jersey. New Jersey just gives up a first-round draft pick who became Bo Horvat, who's a pretty good player. But the Edmonton Oilers were reportedly upset because they would have offered more than that for Corey Schneider. My guess is Vancouver didn't want to trade Schneider to a division rival. They were fine with losing him to an Eastern team. They didn't want to trade him to a division rival. They didn't want Edmonton to come into Vancouver and beat him 3 times a year with Schneider in net. To them, it wasn't worth the risk. At least that's usually how this thing works out. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the Atlantic with that. All right, next up. The Avs have lost 3 in a row. the last game being in overtime, the game I watched in Vancouver. Um, Last I saw Nathan McKinnon's day-to-day with an upper body injury. I didn't see it. It was at the other end of the ice. I didn't see what had happened. I didn't see him get taken to the dressing room because I don't watch the benches so much. I did see one Canuck coming off limping, but I didn't see him go to the dressing room either because I was watching the action on the ice. And like I said, it's at the other end of the ice. There was so much, there was a lot of scrums going on at the other end in that period, so I didn't see it. But if he's out for this game, and I haven't heard one way or the other, that changes things. Bernier's starting for Colorado because Varlamov's still out. Montoya's the likely starter for the Oilers. The Oilers, who are 5-5 in their last 10. I also want to address the Cam Talbot thing. So Cam Talbot comes out and says, "I believe we're a playoff team," and fans are mocking him on Twitter, and people are, "Oh, it's so funny," blah blah blah. It's funny how last year the Oilers were a Stanley Cup contender, and everybody said, "Oh, they're going to win all these cups, and oh, there's going to be this dynasty with McDavid." They're having a rough year this year, and now all the Oilers fan bashers have shown up again. "Oh, the Oilers suck. The Oilers will always suck. They're going to win the lottery." Blah blah blah. It's just weird to me because nobody predicted coming into this season that they were going to fall like this. That we'd be seeing a 22, 24, and 3 Oilers team at this stage of the season. Or that we'd see a 27, 18, and 4 Colorado Avalanche. So I always find it weird when people say, "Well, I knew this was going to happen," and I want to say, "No, you didn't." That's part of the fun thing about me having this channel is that I can come out and say I had no idea, and you guys can go back and check my season predictions and go, "Hey, you didn't have a clue." And I can't stand here and say, "Well, I knew the Oilers were going to fall because I predicted they'd be first in the division." So, I didn't think they'd win a cup. I didn't think they were there. But still, I predicted they'd be a heck of a lot better than this. And the Oilers need to start being better, and they need to start believing in themselves a little bit. There's a lot of lackluster play, a lot of lethargy on the ice. And Colorado comes in playing very solid hockey. They probably deserved a better fate in the Vancouver game than what they got. I was really surprised when Vancouver won it because I thought Colorado outplayed them. But, it is what it is, and we'll see what happens from here. But this is a game the Oilers need, but Colorado needs it more. Because now they're at 3 losses in a row. They have to win one. They have to win tonight. So I'll keep a close eye on that one because I want to see what happens. Again, if you've never seen Gabriel Landeskog live, he's pretty impressive specimen live. That kid can do a little bit of everything. And I said to Yvonne during the game, I said, I don't know how he's not scoring 40 goals every year. This kid is amazing. And I can understand now why the Avalanche management was not willing to move him. Why they move out Duchesne and they weren't moving Landeskog. Because statistically last year, Landeskog was the lesser of the two forwards. And I thought, well, Landeskog's going to go. No, I was wrong. I was dead wrong. Don't let him go. Don't let him go. Just don't. Next up, Vegas. For Vegas reasons, they're in Winnipeg. This will be interesting because Winnipeg is a very solid home record. Winnipeg's coming off of a win over Tampa. Winnipeg 30-13-8. It's a very solid record. And Vegas 33-12-4. Winnipeg in their last 10 7-2-1. Vegas in their last 10 6-2-2. These are two hot teams going against it, 1-on-1. And this is a game that people talk about my power rankings. This is a game that's going to determine a lot. Can Vegas prove that they're playing the best hockey in the league still, or is Winnipeg going to come out and prove that they're in that conversation and they may very well be playing the best hockey even without Jacob Trouba? Hellebuck's in net. Fleury is likely the starter for Vegas. I'd be very surprised if it wasn't Marc-Andre Fleury. I almost said Theron Fleury. Maybe I'm just overtired. I didn't get a great night's sleep last night either. But yeah, Fleury likely. Hellebuck, and you can discuss who the better of the two goalies is there, but you're really splitting hairs on that one. I like both. Does that count? Is that copping? That's a cop out? All right, well, fine. Then I'm copping out. I'm going to go ahead and say too that predicting a winner in this one, good luck. Vegas should win for Vegas reasons, but Winnipeg always wins at home. So I I don't know. If this was in Vegas, it's a heck of a lot easier for me to call it. Vegas wins the game in Vegas. But if in Winnipeg, it's hard to say. And I'm still wondering if we're starting to see Vegas decline a little bit in terms of their results, maybe a little bit, and yet their last game, the win over Calgary, shows that even when they look like they might be declining, all they have to do is play well for about 30 seconds, and they win. Great defense by Vegas. I expect a low-scoring game tonight. I'd be surprised if it's a high-scoring game. Next up, L.A. and Nashville. L.A. 27-18-5. Nashville 29-12-7. Quick is likely the starter for the Kings, and Rinne for Nashville. Nashville 6-2-2 in their last 10. The Kings are 3-7 in their last 10. And man, the Kings look like crap one night, and they look fantastic another night. And I really don't know. I favor Nashville in this one completely because Nashville's been great at home. But LA's road and home records are very similar. They're good both at home and on the road. They need this one. This is the kind of game that they usually will win, and then they'll lose a game against Columbus or somebody else that's not in a Nashville category. Not to besmirch Columbus in particular. It's just a name that comes to mind. But if it's Rinne and Quick, it's going to be a fun game. There's not going to be a lot of goals. I do see Nashville winning it. I'd be very surprised if Nashville doesn't win it. The Predators are they're just so strong in every area of the game, and I do see them as being contenders. And I think coming out of the All-Star break, I think that's what we're going to see a lot of. They lost their first game coming out of the break, but I think this is the kind of game tonight that I could see them winning. Because, Nashville. Maybe there's Nashville reasons too. Not really. They're not in that same category. Because Nashville, we knew was a good team coming into this season. Vegas, we had no idea they'd be this good. Even Vegas had no idea this was coming. They've already got 70 points. Holy crap. Whereas the Nashville Predators have 65, and they're still having a very good season. Pretty darn good. And for Nashville, of course, they have to watch Winnipeg and they have to watch St. Louis. There's going to be a lot of scoreboard watching from here. LA is going to be watching Anaheim. They're going to be watching Calgary because these are the teams that they need to get past to make it into the playoffs. As Anaheim will be watching this. Yeah, there'll be a lot of players looking up at the scoreboards. That's going to happen a lot tonight. Just seeing what other teams are doing and what scores are. And with 12 games on the board like this, and then there'll be 13 on Saturday, that's some very competitive hockey. And this game could be a little chippy too, because LA tends to play some chippy games. And of course, people who don't like the Kings are going to say dirty. It's dirty games, not just chippy. It's dirty. They're a dirty team. All right, have at her, but I'm not going to say it. Last but not least, Chicago. So the Hawks come in against Vancouver, and I actually kind of wish I was going to see this game tonight. I want to see if Vancouver can follow up a very solid home game against the Avalanche with a very solid home game against Chicago. Chicago comes in looking strong-ish. Forsberg's the likely starter. Markstrom's the likely starter. The Blackhawks 24-19-7. Vancouver 20-24-6. Chicago's got the better forwards, and Vinny Hinostroza is playing the best hockey of his career right now. Let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. And Schmaltz, that kid is amazing. So I might as well just throw that out there while I'm at it. And Osterley is pretty damn good too. And for Vancouver, Horvat's getting it back. And if Besser wasn't with the Sedins, it was the one thing that I thought watching that game, and I said it during my review, and I'm saying it again now. Why is Besser with the Sedins? If it's 5 years ago, yes. But the Sedins now, I don't understand it. So people are just going to look and go, oh, Besser's scoring slowed down. He's not playing very well. The reality is he's playing very well. He's getting to the puck, and there's nowhere to pass it to because his line mates are kind of a step behind him. It's bewildering. So for fans in Toronto that are upset about Matt Martin and for fans in New York that get mad at Vigneault, coaches do this. They put together line matchups, and it's maddening. Where you look and you see one good player who needs two players of a similar ilk, and for whatever reason it doesn't happen. It's like, okay, well, we got Vanek with Horvat and Berchi, and you go, why? That was my reaction at the start of the game. Was I see Vanek with Horvat and Berchi, and I'm like, Brock's not hurt, is he? No, there he is. Why isn't Brock with Horvat and Berchi? And so I'll look to see if they're together tonight, but I doubt it because they won their last game. So odds are Travis Green leaves everything the same. And for Chicago, good news. Vancouver is not great at home. I saw them win their last game and was stunned because they'd only won 8 games at home before that game. So Chicago, still waiting on Crawford to come back, but they have to claw their way back into it. They have to because every team in their division is playing relatively well right now, and they have to keep winning to keep pace. We talked early in the season about how the Metro was this great division. The Metro, to me, has kind of fallen, and now it's the Central. The division with 7 teams is the strongest. And may the best team win, because it's anybody's guess on any given night which one's going to win out of the Central Division teams, and who's going to keep pace and who's going to fall back. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And again, I try to give you guys a more detailed preview for each game than you're probably going to see elsewhere. And I enjoy doing that. So thanks for being out there. It makes it worth being in here. And I'll talk to you again soon.